into this story about Imran Khan. Now, I don't know if all of you are familiar with him. I was not familiar with him until this week, and I've been seeing a lot about him recently. He is the former prime minister of Pakistan, and apparently he is considering running again. And that is not sitting well with the police state of Pakistan. They have gone so far to surround his house. This man is not having a good week. He actually shared this himself from his Twitter account. Reportedly, scenes from outside my house while I was addressing the nation. You got to see it to believe it, folks. It looks like something out of a movie. Like at first when I saw this, I was like, is this Independence Day? Like, what is this? Is this a scene from a movie? These are all the police. They're coming to surround his house. Not having a good week. Not having. They have a police bus. Crazy. Yeah. Like that was some crazy stuff. Like, and it makes you wonder, what did he do? And that's what we're going to get into, because Imran Khan apparently is a popular politician. Apparently people really like him. So you're probably wondering, if so many people in Pakistan like him, then why is the police state after him? And why is it that they don't want him to run for re-election again? Well, recently, Imran Khan actually sat down for an interview while all this was happening outside his house. He actually did have time to give an interview. And I want to get into that because I want you to hear both sides of the story. Because right now, obviously, the police are giving their version. They believe that Imran Khan was basically hiding violent protesters at his home. But what does he have to say about that? Let's get into it.
Pakistan's opposition leader Imran Khan's house in Lahore remains surrounded by police. The 70-year-old veteran politician said earlier that police were preparing to detain him again. Khan was arrested last week in connection with a corruption case. On Thursday, Pakistan's Supreme Court ruled that arrest was illegal. Well, joining us now from Lahore is Imran Khan, former Prime Minister of Pakistan. Mr. Khan, welcome to the program. Could you give us, first of all, an update of your situation? Are you still anticipating arrest at this time?
Well, my house is surrounded by the police. Basically, they've cut my house off from the main roads, and there was a police statement that there were 40 terrorists hiding in my house, so they were going to come and search for these terrorists. So I've invited everyone, the media and everyone, to come and look for these terrorists which are supposed to be hiding in my house. I believe it's just a pretext for them to again conduct a raid and pick me up.
So you say that those people that they suggest are involved in the violence of last week are not at your property?
What they're saying is that once I was abducted, and I use the word abducted, confirmed by the Supreme Court, unlawfully picked up from within the precincts of the Islamabad High Court, there was a reaction in the public. We believe that any independent investigation will show that the people who came out for me were peaceful protesters, as they have been for 27 years.
Let me interrupt here for just a second. So let's backtrack a little bit. He was arrested. Apparently, the arrest was illegal. Now, they say they arrested him based on like corruption, etc. But apparently that arrest was illegal. So they had to release him. Now, when he was arrested, people protested. So he's saying that the people that protested against his arrest were peaceful protesters. And of course, the police are saying different. They're saying that you started and caused these violent protests. So you're to blame for it. And we believe that you're actually hiding some of those violent protesters. But who does he think those protesters are actually aligned with? Not the peaceful ones, but the violent ones. You got to hear this to believe it yourself.
There were some people we believe were inserted in there which created arson. And that's what has given them the reason to crack down on us. 7,500 of our people are in jail today. All my top leadership is in jail.
So you say that your supporters are not responsible in any way for the violence. And in fact, it was other elements who do not belong to the party, who do not support you, that caused the damage and violence instead. Is that what you're saying?
In other words, there was infiltration. There was infiltration. This happened during the BLM protest. You guys remember this? There were some people that were protesting like peacefully, but then there were also some protesters that were being violent. And then later on, it was explained that those people actually were not a part of the BLM protest groups. Those were people that came out there to make it look like the BLM protesters were being violent and were bad. Similar situation here. So he's saying that, yes, there were protesters out there that were violent, but those were not the people that were on my side. They were not a part of my party, my political party. Those people were actually part of the police state, and they infiltrated the protest to make it seem like the protesters out there for him were being violent. This happens, people. That's right, Simone. Provocateurs. It happens. We've seen it happen. Those of you that are activists and you've been involved in protests, you know this happens almost every time, especially if it's a huge protest. There's always infiltration in some way, shape, or form.
What I'm saying, Nick, this was deliberate. And you have to know the background. The audience must know why. The reason is that the rating of my political party is 70% today. 70% compared to all the other parties, which are 13, 10% and so on. And so this is the election year. And all the parties plus the establishment wants me to be removed from the electoral field.
Does this sound familiar? Going to such lengths to prevent someone from running for office again? Does that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound similar to what the Democratic Party is trying to do to Donald Trump right now? Granted, they didn't have, the whole police state come out to his house. But do you see the comparison? You don't have to agree with Imran Khan's policies. You don't have to agree with Trump's policies. But again, this appears to be politically motivated.
And to do that, there have been 150 cases already on me. They've been trying to put me in prison before.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I just want to get to the bottom of this. The fact that, hundreds of police officers were injured and officials were seriously injured, and you're seriously suggesting that they were injured by their own side.
No, what I'm saying is that for 27 years, we have been holding protests over, like any political party does. When I was shot and I named one of the military intelligence officers one of the three suspects, why were there no burning and arson or anything? There were protests, but there were peaceful protests, but there was nothing like what happened now. What happened right now was that this was a deliberate, the arson I'm talking about, the arson was committed deliberately. 25 people died in this. 700 people got bullet wounds, all of our supporters. And if there's any independent inquiry, you will find that there were peaceful protesters. And the arson was done. Already the evidence is coming out. In social media days, you can't hide it.
All right, well, let's see
out evidence
as and when and if there's an investigation and see what.
Isn't it interesting? This guy is like 70 years old. And you know what he told you? He said they've been protesting for years.
The reality was. But do you not feel that by calling your supporters out to protest, you are effectively inciting violence?
Okay, listen to the way he just framed that question. So Imran just basically explained to him that his protesters were peaceful. They were not violent. The commentator is like, yeah, I hear all that, but By you telling people to protest, aren't you indeed inciting violence? He just told you his protesters were peaceful. So you see the framing, how some of these commentators will link the word protesting to violence. They'll automatically see that as a violent thing instead of it being a peaceful thing. That's exactly what this commentator is doing right now. Pay close attention to that. Calling on people to protest doesn't mean that you're calling on violence. You can protest peacefully. But you have a lot of these pundits in the media now where they just automatically link the two and they see protests and they think that is violent.
Look, Nick, I mean, which democracy does not allow people to protest peacefully when they think they've been wronged? Name me a democracy. When I'm picked up unlawfully, I was on bail, they could not pick me up. They grabbed me, not just grabbed me, but they beat up people. People got injured. They took me like an ordinary terrorist. What did you think? Would there not be a reaction? Would there not be peaceful protest on that? There were always going to be protests. But what I'm saying is that the arson was not us. And I can again say that whenever there's independent investigation, it will be proved that it wasn't us.
Let me tell you something that happened during the George Floyd protests. And someone captured this in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They were taking pictures of downtown Fayetteville. So it's like more of a historic site. And they noticed that all of a sudden there were a pile of bricks outside of like the retail stores that wasn't there before. There was no construction being done. It was almost as if, and the protests obviously were scheduled for the next day, right? So it's almost as if somebody was encouraging people to pick up those bricks and throw them, right? These types of things. So this incident here with the arson is just almost like, it's almost like it was planted. It was planted. This was deliberate. As he says, it was meant to happen. It was on purpose to make those protesters look bad.
You, of course, were given bail by the Supreme Court. Do you not then have faith in Pakistan's judicial system?
The only thing that is holding together Pakistan's democracy is our judicial system. This is the only thing. Otherwise, what is happening now is people come out, get bail from one case, immediately there's police which grabs them and takes them in for some other case. How can 7,500 people be in jail? How can all the top leadership be in jail? At least they must prove there must be some evidence that they were involved in some wrongdoing. All my people have always been told to protest peacefully. And I have all the statements. From 27 years, I've always said, stay between the Constitution and the law. Do not indulge in any violence. And our party is known for that. So how come suddenly they started burning down buildings? We have evidence that there were people planted inside who did that.
So his party is known for having peaceful protests. Now, all of a sudden, they're supposed to be violent. Yeah, that sounds fishy to me. Plus, he's also telling the commentator that he has evidence that proves that there were people planted inside. Now, this should not be something that's strange to the commentator. I told you before, things are infiltrated all the time, whether it's protests, whether it's organizing, whether it's any type of movement. Hell, Bernie Sanders had infiltrators in his campaign. So it's just, you can't, it's interesting to me the commentator finds this hard or difficult to believe. Or maybe he doesn't believe it, but he's just being a corporate mouthpiece.
Where is the nation going to find resolution here? Two sides are so polarized, the country is divided. Where is resolution coming from?
Look, Nick, there is only one solution. This is an election year. The elections cannot be held beyond October. So 3 months before the elections, the government gets dissolved, so which is another two and a half months. Now, that is the solution. But unfortunately, what is happening is that the government is running away from elections. There were supposed to be provincial assembly elections in 70% of Pakistan, according to the constitution, ruled by the Supreme Court. The government refused. So they've already violated the constitution because they're scared of losing the elections.
There you go.
Who, finally, Imran Khan, are you blaming? Is it the government or the army, the military? Who do you think is behind this?
Well, of course, the 12-party coalition, which is in government, but they were brought in government by the ex-army chief. So the military means one man, army chief, because it's not a democratic institution. So basically what he decides goes. So what is happening right now clearly is that neither the military establishment, which means one man, nor these 12 parties, they're too scared for elections because they're scared I will win. So because of that, they're doing everything to make sure that I get out of the race. I've had 2 assassination attempts on me.
Isn't this crazy? Like, are you guys hearing this? Like, they're this afraid that this guy will win again, that they're willing to go through all this. 2 assassination attempts on his life. On his life. See, that's how you know you're a threat. That's how you know you're a threat to the establishment when they come in and try to take you out like that. That's how you know. And this, I'm thinking back on this, and like, honestly, this is how I should have known early on that Barack Obama was not going to be any type of threat. Nobody tried to take him out. And not saying this should happen, but I'm saying nobody tried to take him out. Like, the media loved him. That should have been the big red flag for me. Mainstream media loved Barack Obama. Now, of course, not Fox News, so to speak, because they're conservative, but CNN and MSNBC, they ate Obama up. They loved him. And that should have been a big red flag. This guy, however, they really trying to take this guy out. Anything so that he doesn't win again. And that's how you know this guy is seen as a threat.
One was where I was hit. One where I was lucky to be alive because I got saved, thank God. So this is the issue. 150 cases on me. Someone who has not had one criminal case in the last few months has 150 cases, including 15 criminal cases in a day, 40 terrorist cases. So, this is all to get me out of the race.
Actually, well, I'm going to throw one more question at you. In the past,
how do you get 15 cases in a day?
You have blamed the United States for inciting all of this. Do you still think that's the case?
Well, what we now subsequently discovered, let me give you the background. Our ambassador, Pakistan ambassador, when I was the prime minister in Washington, he had a meeting with a US official meeting, and the cipher, the secret message which came to me was that the US official said that unless you remove Imran Khan as your prime minister, there'll be consequences for Pakistan. But later on, we discovered that it didn't originate from there. Our ex-army chief had fed the Americans against me and called me anti-American. All this came out later on. So it was initiated from here. The Americans were told how I was anti-American, and then came the cipher.
Because, of course, the U.S. government would have some type of influence in this. Of course they would. So I want you to hold on to that piece because I do think that that's important. Again, this is another country taking the U.S. Lead. And that's not uncommon. We've seen this happen multiple times. Now, he's popular, and I want to show you how popular he is. So according to this, ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan is Pakistan's most popular politician. Most popular. They like this guy. Okay? This guy is not someone that's hated. A new survey reveals that former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is Pakistan's most popular politician by far. The results come at a crucial moment for Khan, who is pressing for elections and faces the threat of arrest just months after a failed assassination bid. They really came after this guy. The poll conducted by the authoritative Gallup Pakistan in the first 3 weeks of February finds that 61% of Pakistanis view Khan favorably, compared to just 36%, respectively, for his chief rivals, the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and the current former foreign Prime Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. So you just have to understand, it says Khan was removed from power last April in a vote of no confidence, Now, where have we seen this before? Vote of no confidence. We saw that with President Macron, right? He had that no confidence vote where he decided to increase the pension, increase the retirement age for pension reform. So we see this again. He says was orchestrated by the then Army Chief, General Qamar. He also alleged the U.S. involvement in his removal, which he's termed a regime change operation. And what did I tell you? That's why I said hold on to that piece about the United States. So here we go again, where the United States government had their hand in deciding who a political leader was going to be in another country. You think those police just showed up at his house out of nowhere? Nah. Now let's look at some of his political ideologies, because I know some of you are probably wondering, well, what does this guy believe? Now see if I make it a little bit bigger, because Wikipedia can be, and maybe not. Wikipedia is always a weird fit. Okay. Khan is generally described as a nationalist and a populist. Khan's proclaimed political platform and declarations include Islamic values, to which he rededicated himself in the 1990s. Liberal economics with the promise of deregulating the economy and creating a welfare state. Pay attention to this, guys. Decrease bureaucracy and the implementation of anti-corruption laws. No wonder they want him gone. You see this? Anti-corruption laws to create and ensure a clean government. Eric, do you hear that? Eric would love this. Eric, you hear this about this guy? Anti-corruption laws and ensure a clean government. The establishment of an independent judiciary, overhaul of the country's police system. See, this is why they're coming after him. Overhaul the country's police system. So he wanted to change policing, and an anti-militant vision for a democratic Pakistan. You see this? Eric says, love me some anti-corruption. Exactly. You see this, guys? That's why they wanted him gone. How dare you? How dare you get rid of corruption? Are you trying to no. Oh, you're trying to change the police system? Oh, no, this guy can't. No, we can't have this guy in. After the result of the 2018 Pakistani general election, Imran Khan said he would try to remake Pakistan based on the ideology of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. During his government, Khan addressed a balance of payment crisis with a bailout from the IMF. He presided over a shrinking current account deficit, a limited defense spending to curtail the fiscal deficit, leading to some general economic growth. He enacted policies which increased tax collection and investment, and reforms were made to the social safety net. His reforestation initiative and expanded protected areas and led the country during the pandemic. However, his failure to revive the economy and the rising inflation rate caused him political problems. Despite his promised anti-corruption campaign, the perception of corruption in Pakistan worsened during his rule. He was accused of political victimization of opponents and clamping down on freedom of expression and dissent. So this is interesting. Khan became the country's first prime minister to be ousted through a no confidence motion vote. That's what we were just talking about. Now, where does he stand on foreign relations? In foreign relations, he dealt with border skirmishes against India, strengthened relations with China and Russia. Bingo! Ding, 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 ding. Another reason the United States will want him removed, he strengthened relations with China and Russia. And I tell you, this was more than just those protests. A lot more than that. See, that's a no-no. The U.S. government does not like, oh no, this guy is trying to strengthen relationships with those two guys. Oh no, he got to go. We got to pull him out. Regime change. Just like that. They tried to kill this guy twice. Let's go on. Now, I don't say everything. I don't agree with everything with him, but this is ridiculous. So let's go on. Khan said in an interview, I grew up hating India because I grew up in Lahore. And there were massacres of 1947, so much bloodshed and anger. But as I started touring India, I got such love and friendship there that all this disappeared. So he changed his view about how he felt about India. Now, there's another piece I want to highlight here. Khan publicly demanded a Pakistani apology towards the Bangladeshi people for the atrocities committed in 1971. I'm trying to remember when the United States government has demanded that, we give any type of apology to another country. Has any president that we have demand that the US government give an apology to people in Haiti? What about Yemen? Syria? Afghanistan? No? Interesting. Moving on. It says, there was the part here I wanted to bring up about Saudi Arabia. This piece. Okay. This I do not agree with. Khan visited the embassies of Iran and Saudi Arabia in Islamabad and met their head of commissions to understand their stances about the conflict that engulfed both nations after the execution of Sheikh Mir by Saudi Arabia. You guys remember this, right? He urged the government of Pakistan to play a positive role to resolve the matter between both countries. After Parliament passed a unanimous resolution keeping Pakistan out of the war in Yemen, Khan claimed that his party was responsible for many critical clauses of the resolution. In July 2018, the Saudi-based Islamic Development Bank activated its $4.5 billion oil financing facility for Pakistan. So there was one piece in here. You guys remember the reporter? I thought I had that one pulled up, but maybe I missed it. But the reporter that was killed in Saudi Arabia, the American reporter, remember that? While he didn't agree with it, I can't find it here now. That's weird. I should have made a marker. But one of the things he said is why he didn't agree with what was done. He still kind of was like, okay, it is what it is, because he considered Saudi Arabia to be an ally. I didn't agree with that. So I don't agree with him on everything. But if the US government is involved and they're trying to remove this guy, obviously there's a reason. There's a big reason here. And that's a problem. They see Imran Khan as a threat. So much that they would go through these lengths. Yes, Jamal Khashoggi, right. So that was one of the things where he was like, well, he didn't agree with it, but at the same time, it was like, but Saudi Arabia is an ally. So no, I didn't agree with his statement about that. But the thing is that I don't know. I believe that was the guy. I think that's the individual. I have to double check, but I think it was Jamal Khashoggi. Wasn't he the one that they said the Saudi prince killed? I have to check. Yeah, he was killed in Turkey. I thought they said, I could have the wrong guy. I forget. I'd have to look it up. Or Eric, if you have time, can you look it up and check who that was? I thought it was Jamal Khashoggi. Anyway, I didn't agree with his opinion about that. But anyway, the thing that you got to keep in mind is that the United States government sees this guy as a threat. They want him gone. So I don't think those police just acted on their own, if you know what I mean. But I'll keep following it. Follow him on Twitter. He's given updates. Let's see. If you go to his Twitter account, he's given like daily updates. Now, not all of the tweets are in English. And unfortunately, like Twitter doesn't let you translate. Yeah, Twitter does not let you translate them. Like on Facebook, I can hit like translate, or I thought it used to be an option to translate tweet, but now, okay, there it is. Yeah. So follow him on Twitter because he's given like daily updates, or actually a couple of hours apart, about what's happening. So check that out. All right, I'll go to some of the comments and then I'll get the comments on Rockfin and then we'll go on to the next story. All right, Massachusetts will get a deep freeze sometime soon in May. What? Get your blankets back out of the closet. Oh no. Oh my God. No, I packed away the winter stuff. Trailer Park Pundit. What's up, Chandra? The police never represent the people ever. No, they don't. Shout out to my comrade JB, says hello, everyone. Thank you for the super chat. You name it. Can we start calling out the MW leaning commentators for slandering RFK supporters as dumb sheep who only care about his last name, MSM behaviors? Okay, I didn't hear anyone refer to RFK supporters as dumb sheep. I know people have criticized RFK Jr. about his stance on the jab, but I didn't hear anybody call people supporters dumb sheep. I don't know. Was that YouTube? If it was Twitter, like I'm not like I fucking hate Twitter. I'm not on Twitter that much. Christine, Sabby, you should talk to Tariq Ali, R.E. Imran Khan. Okay, I can reach out. Tariq Ali. Okay, I'll have to check that. And then I'll take that comment on Rockfin, Eric. All right. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Hemp Carr. Hemp Carr, when Julian Assange interviewed Khan was giving him much gratitude for exposing the incidentally most anti-American candidate in Pakistan, who was actually talking to the USA in cables, saying how he'll do anything they tell him if they help him win. That's interesting. I'll have to check that out. When I'm done with the stream, I'll go on Rockfin and I'll grab that link, but I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Eric. Eric found it. Told you. Imran Khan, Pakistan cannot afford to snub Saudis over Khashoggi killing. See, I told you when it came to this issue, like, again, like, although he didn't agree with what was done, he still said, like, we can't, like, just, you know, though shocked by Khashoggi's killing, he said the Pakistani government needed urgent access to Saudi loans to avoid defaulting on record levels of debt within months. We are desperate at the moment. So you see what I mean? Yeah. But Khan did call on the U.S. to drop its sanctions against Iran, Saudi Arabia's bitter regional rival. So there's that as well. So